Shalom, shalom. This is a message for the Sanhedrun for um, Hillel, Weiss. I bet if you talked to me before doing this, you probably wouldn't have allowed me to do it. But I guess Abba Yah had a plan all along. I still don't know why. I wish I knew why the other man canceled. I mean, I know who did it and know why. It was ultimately Abba's plan, but I'd love to find out how it came about. So where was I going to go with this? The only reason I came to that conference was because Allah told me to. Um, he speaks to me through synchronicities, through many, many different ways. But when I get three witnesses telling me to do something, I know he's speaking to me, and it's a feeling that I knew I was supposed to do. But he had been preparing me for that for a long time. Just saying, hey, if I ask you to do something, will you do it? That's kind of a preparation. Because if I would have thought about it, I wouldn't have ever done any of these things. So, what am I going to tell you now? I only do what I see my Father doing. That anger that came into me, I told you when I went to go kiss the idolatry of the Virgin Mary and baby Jesus, it was a fire in me. It was him in me. And I quenched it most of my life because everybody was telling me I was wrong. And I was going to the church and I was saying, hey, we're not supposed to do this. I'm like, no, it's not like that. We don't worship them. They're just like pictures of loved ones. But I'm like, but it offends him. I'm like, no, you're crazy. It's not really true. They didn't really call me crazy. I'm sure now they would, but back then they didn't. Anyway, what can I say? He told me almost everywhere he sends me, it's for judgment. Years ago, he told me judgments were going to come through me. And I said, no way. I'm like, no, I don't want anything to do with that. That sounds evil to me. I don't want anything to do with it. And then I began to see what true love was. That I couldn't allow leaders leading his children astray. I couldn't allow honestly, what the whole thing that makes me move and puts a fire in my bum is I can't see his heart broken anymore. See, some years ago, I sat right here on this couch. And listen, all I can say is, from what I understand, everything is him. So he came to me through his son. And when I saw him, I turned my back to him and said, oh, that's not you. They're right. I'm hearing the devil. I'm hearing the enemy. And I could feel him. I sense him. So I just felt his countenance go down, just great sadness. Great sadness. And I turned back around, and there was just a very thin veil. Interesting thing is, we actually have that veil now, separating kind of our holy room from the other part of the house. But I didn't have it then. But it was the same veil. And he was on the other side, and I hear, don't you know? And I could feel it. It's like his countenance was down. He was like, don't you know? I turned around and I said, don't I know what? He said to me, don't you know that you can hurt me? And then I said, how is that possible? If you are who you basically say you are and who I thought you were, how is that possible that I can hurt you? And he said to me, because I made myself vulnerable to your love. And that destroyed me. It destroyed me. How is that even possible? One man of your creation, of all the wonders of the creation that you built. How can I hurt you? Why would you make yourself under me in any way? And then he said to me, because love makes you vulnerable. And then I started to understand. He is love. He is love. The most loving. He is love. So if he is love, and love makes you vulnerable, then who is the most vulnerable? Who in all of creation is the most vulnerable of all? Who? Because he loves so much. So from then on, it changed my life. I didn't do any of these things. I didn't do the laws. I was doing them before too, but I started to do it to know that that's what love was. That if I didn't, it meant separation from him, and that separation from him made him hurt. So that's why I keep the laws. That's why it was so important. I'm glad you answered that question. I meant to bring it up before, but my biggest concern was, and see, I was ready to convert. I was going to convert to Judaism. But when a rabbi told me that I couldn't keep the Sabbath, I said, well, Abba, what do I do now? He says, well, you're going to listen to him or you're going to listen to me? So I realized, it's like, oh my gosh, if I convert, I would have to put myself under this. Being told that I can't do something that my rabbi in heaven, my Yah, told me to do. So do I go against rabbis or do I go against him? And I quickly had to make a decision. My life is his. I can't go against him, even unto death. Can't go against him. I won't. I love him too much. You see, I love not to be able to not to have to keep the laws. But what I know of what he's told me and why we have been so cursed with diseases and genetic disorders and things like that is because we were Cohen, that we weren't keeping his commandments. We were meant to be holy, and then next thing you know, we're offering swine on the altars in our temples. So I went there listening and doing and listening to my father. I'm just a foolish man that spends most of my time having to lay down because I get too dizzy standing up. Anyway, and weak. But in him I'm strong. And then next thing you know, that anger in me, after all these years of listening to him and him talking to me and me denying him and bringing it up with leaders, and they would all tell me, no, you're wrong. No, that's not right. No, no, no. And I'm like, but he tells me, and it's like, but it proves right. He's so far, he's been proving everything right. Well, no, I'm sorry. I won't listen to when something goes against him. So I knew some believers were against this stuff. I know Christian believers are against the temple, not all, but some, and all these things because they lack understanding. Well, most people lack understanding, unfortunately, because our fathers lied to us, and I'm seeing that everywhere. It's not just the Christians. You know, when you have a rabbi saying that if a Gentile keeps the Sabbath, they should be killed, you got a little problem there, don't you think? Especially, isn't in the future everybody going to be keeping the Sabbath? Isn't there a song that we sing? I thought I remember something like that. Anyway, that was one of the first things he had me do. And it was amazing. And literally, I was in church and he was getting mad at the pastor. He's like, another message on Old Testament tithing. I'm feeling inside of me. And he's like, what about my 10 commandments? What about my Sabbath? And I'm like, we keep the Sabbath? What do you mean, what about the Sabbath? And I'm having this conversation in my head, but most of the time I couldn't even listen to the pastors anymore because my narcolepsy, he wouldn't even let me listen to them because they were telling me a lot of lies. And I would go up to them and say, the message you just said, you just gave, something's wrong with it. His spirit just didn't, I didn't even know what it was half the time, but I would just tell him something was wrong. And so I went home and researched and found out, sure enough, yeah, Constantine changed the laws, made it illegal to be holy, all these things. And I also found out that Jews didn't want us keeping any of these things anyway. So they didn't help the situation either. And, well, actually, I'll tell you the time. I had a Kabbalist, ex-Mossad agent in my house. And he said to me, the reason the Jews suffered was because Yeshua took the law out to the Gentiles. And I literally had the 10 Commandments in my hand at that time, a plaque that I was going to be putting up in the church or something. And he got so angry in me. And I actually threw the plaque down and broke the whole plaque of 10 Commandments. And I felt him come up and he goes, it was the exact opposite. And I don't even know why. I just feel him. And he says to me, he goes, it was the exact opposite of that. Evil came upon them because they were refusing to be a light to the nations. They were refusing to share me, he says, with the world. That's why I had to do what I did. That's why Yeshua had to come to bring the lost tribes home. He said, I only came for the lost sheep of Israel. You see, it's all a beautiful love story, set from creation. Yeah. I don't know if you see that. Yeah, I get these cramps all the time. They just start locking up. Yeah, so I don't know how. Yeah, so I even asked him that question. How is it possible? I can't be a priest. I can't, especially a high priest or something like that, because I've got this genetic disorder. Anyway, where was I? Oh, so that was basically what he was telling me. It was because you're supposed to be a light to the nations. And I want to help support you do that. I want to help the marriage of what he's told me to do. Now, I would have thought I was blaspheming not long ago. But I can't take all the prophetic stuff. And Stone has been fighting thing after thing after thing. I mean, it's old scriptures after scriptures after scriptures, hidden writings, Dead Sea Scrolls, even in Hinduism, all kinds of stuff all over the place. All kind of coming to what I've already heard in my spirit, which, he tricks me all the time. He never gives me the big picture. When he was telling me I was Eliyahu, I was hearing the spirit of Eliyahu. I'm like, that's not possible. And I fought him and fought him and fought him. And what I truly see happening right now, all this is, because it's not going to come through the educated. I'm sorry. All the people that spent their lives being educated, it's going to be a support thing, but it's coming through his spirit. But what he's kind of shared with me is, I'm like, I don't know anything. I can't even do this. And you want me to be a priest? I can't even learn the prayers. What kind of thing? I go, do you know what you're doing? I said that to him. And he says to me, yes. And one day I was just praising him. And that's my favorite thing to do. I want to spend eternity praising my Yah. That's my love. I have pain and suffering in my flesh to teach me that when I praise him, I can rise up and I don't have to feel it anymore. That was what was lost with Adam and Eve. That's what he told me. He says Eve was able to come out of her body like you are now and not feel the pain. And Adam could have asked for anything and he wouldn't have had to toil for his work. Every little bit that he does, he does the 10%, I'll do the 90. That's what he kind of tells me. So we got, the pain anyway blessed me. One of the things I have, the problems I have is memory. My shoulder's really been hurting me. And this is a lie. He's been talking to me a lot about that, by the way. He's going to be rejecting a lot of the priesthood. They're going to be known as rejected silver. And he's going to graft in ones that weren't there or that got torn off years ago. Tendons. He says, I said that you're not my sons. I'm now going to say that you are my tendon. The sinews coming back with the bones. Anyway, I can't tell you, I've had prophetic stuff my whole life and over and over and over again. And it's been one of those things. It's been a big battle for me, a big fight. And he wants me to do certain things. And I say no, he's got the wrong man. And then I do it because I love him. And even somebody opened up years ago, in the name of Yod He Vav He, there was some kind of powerful, it was like a wind tunnel. It was almost as powerful as what happened with the fire in Israel, in Yerushalayim. But everybody was asking for things, and what I asked for was to love him more. And then next thing you know, I felt pregnant. Very strange. I had a belly that time too, anyway. And I heard his name was Christ, Mashiach. And I didn't know really what that was, but now I understand. See, from what I understand is we're all part of the whole, but we're just like avatars. We were all made in his image. That when we reach up and we actually find him in the fire, the light comes in and the fire, the heart is ignited and it ignites our whole menorah. The center is ignited. Then we become him on earth. That's what he tells me. That's why he says there's going to be multiple messiahs going up. In Obadiah, it says messiahs are going to be going up to Zion. And I don't know why. He's been telling me for years. 2016, I was in Yerushalayim, and he was telling me, he's like, you're Zion. You need to go find Zion. I'm like, I don't even know where that is. I don't know. Don't they call the Temple Mount Zion? I'm like, okay, whatever. I'll okay. Keep my ears open. But I always know he'll tell me something, and then he'll bring me 2 or 3 witnesses just to prove it. Well, that same day, I rode my scooter on Yom Kippur. I rode my scooter in there when he told me that's what he wanted me to do, and it was illegal. Electrical device on Yom Kippur in the tunnel. I don't know if you remember, that was me, if anybody remembers that. But it was a sea of white garments, and I was basically sackcloth, ashes, and my talit, and actually naked underneath too. And he told me he wanted me to be a sign and a wonder. But that same day, I went out, and a lady told me, let me show you Zion. And the same lady was the one that poured oil on my head. And her name was Judith. She actually called at the airport during the conference of going up to the Mount of Olives. And I told her, and she's the taxi that picked me up. I told her, I said, come now. Remember when you told me I had to do the lamb? I had to sacrifice a lamb on Mount Zion. There's a sacrifice taking place today. Come. And she goes, oh my gosh, really? She said, yeah. She's like, I was going to go up north, but okay. So she comes. She doesn't have any money to be spending on a taxi and all that kind of stuff. So she comes by bus and whatever. And we miss her at the Temple Mount. I missed at you all because I had a mikveh, because he made sure I was mikveh before going. And the bus, well, we didn't pay for the bus anyway. We didn't really have money. So we didn't pay for the bus, and there wasn't room for us anyway. And I said, well, I guess we're going to have to get a taxi or something. She's like, all right, well, I'm going to get a taxi. I'll go up there. I said, okay. And then I said, where are you right now? And I'm on the phone. She's like, I'm in the taxi, and I'm up in front of King George. I go, I'm in front of King George. And she goes, I'm literally in the middle of the street, crossing the street, and the taxi was right there. The first car that met me was them. I get in the car. This guy sped up there like crazy. He was mad at her, I guess, talking to her. And that's when I got up there. I think I got up there almost before you guys did, or maybe right about the same time. And amazingly, as soon as I got out of the taxi, he goes, take your shoes off. I said, okay. And then Adam Eliyahu comes up and asks me if I was Jewish. And I said, not by your standards. And He's like, I don't know why I'm asking you this. I can't believe I'm going to ask you this, but would you be interested in sacrificing the lamb? And I started to cry because even Abba told me, even that morning, I even told Stone on the train, I said, be ready, we might have to do this. And I didn't know why. And I couldn't think about it like, oh, I'm going to do this and this and this, and this is what I'll say. Nothing. I couldn't think of any of those things because I can't. I'm not, if I think about it, I will mess up. I can't do anything. All I can do is hear and do. So that's why he had me up there. And apparently he told me I was there to bring judgments. And I was there to bring judgments to the world too. Not knowing how. But look what happened. That lamb brought judgments to leaders all over the world, and his biblical scholars and leaders all over the place. And I sat back and witnessed him do this. I'm like, wow, you really do make these things happen. I was just so happy to get it done. But I kind of wish we didn't have, some of the things were different. I wish I could share with you the experience of like the first lamb that when he had me do. There's so much to tell you. But what I'm trying to tell you is he's been preparing me for something for a long time. And unless you have somebody else telling you they're the ones you've been waiting for, he's telling me it's me. And I realize how crazy that sounds. And I realize how Jerusalem syndrome that sounds. But the truth is, when he told me I had to give up everything to follow him, it was everything, reputation to, I've given up now. As you can see, all the Christians hate me. They think I'm the Antichrist now. I get Jews upset with me. Actually, not as much as the Christians. I get them upset with me more. Kabbalists, all these things, because I can't help it. When he speaks through me, I have to speak. I can't keep quiet. And that's because I gave myself to him. So what he's telling me is, he is going to bring your lost sheep home to serve you as the prodigal son, to marry you and to be your bride. That's what this is about. That's what the whole parade is happening during the Feast of Tabernacles or Sukkot. This is all about his children coming home. And he wants the doors open for them. So this is the Father's heart that he's crying out. Who's going to hear them? And so there's going to be leaders in all religions, actually, that are going to actually, from what I understand and what he's told me in a dream I saw 30 years ago, they're all going to unite under the Pope. And the temple is going to be built, and they're going to put themselves in there and stop the sacrifices. I saw Obama and the Pope 30 years ago in a dream. And I heard in the spirit, he says, that's the Antichrist. I'm like, the priest? He goes, no. And it was just a skinny, tall black man with an afro. Young black lad. And he's like, I'm like, that's the Antichrist? He's like, yep. Now I know he's the Mahdi. He's the one that the United Nations is going to put in place to be, well, the Antichrist, the anti-Mashiach. But the truth is, by his spirit, he's bringing his true people home. And I see this like marriage taking place between the two sticks. One is the kingdom of Yehuda, and one is Israel, one is Ephraim. We're going to get married. You're my long-lost brother. Whether you want to see that or not, it's your choice. But I love you, and I've given my life and left my family and everybody for Yah, for his laws. See, I can't be around people or things that are unrighteous, that hurt the Father's heart. I have to say something. I can't keep quiet anymore. I can't. That's why I've separated from my own family. I can't keep my mouth shut. I will say something. And I know I burn. And this is how he's telling me this is going on. When he was telling me I was going to be bringing judgment, and now I know that is love. I will bring the judgment because I love. So I never know how I'm doing it. I don't know how I do it. I don't do it. He does it in me. So that's all I'm trying to say is I'm supposed to marry these two sticks. That's something that he's told me. On Shavuot, I'm supposed to offer up the two sticks. I was shocked, and I don't know. Anyway, I don't know anything about all these things. I don't know anything. Nothing. I can't research it either, because as soon as I start researching, I leave his presence. I leave his throne. And I'm like, I can't do that. I can't leave his throne to go learn about something. And that would basically be witchcraft, or want to do something. Because it's not me. It's not even something that I would want to do. None of this is something I want to do. But he keeps sharing with me that this is me. And the Mashiach in me is supposed to restart the sacrifices and to bring understanding to the sacrifices and why we do them and what it is and all that stuff. So I know it's kind of hard to take from a fool. So you guys, whatever, you guys can judge the way you want to judge. I'm just being truthful and obedient to my Abba. That's it. That's why I was there. And that's why he prepared me to do the lamb. We probably wouldn't have had a sacrifice that day. I don't know. But he wanted me doing it, obviously. And he had a purpose for it. And he had, for the intention was to cleanse the land and bring his children home. Unfortunately, it's going to be a cleansing of all people. All the people in Yerushalayim especially are going to be tested and cleansed. There are people that don't belong there. There are, there's Muslims, but there's some Muslims that actually belong there. He shares with me Hebrews. It's funny of them. One of them is a man named Abraham and his son Malek, I think. And I went up to him and he was looking at me. I was in my sackcloth and staff and all that. And I was looking at the story. He just basically gave me a look like, you don't belong here. What are you doing here? Who are you? And I don't know what came in me. And I went right up to his face and I said, what makes you think you belong here? And I'm like, I'm going to die now. And he looks back at me and like with anger. And I'm like, okay, he's going to say he's going to kill me now. I'm going to say, I understand. I didn't know what came out of my mouth. It just, And then I went right back in his face. This stuff comes from within me. I went right back in his face and I said, does Allah allow you to sell those things? The idolatries that my people brought to the land? Does Allah allow you to sell those? He looks at me and he big open eyes and he goes, and you just saw this something come over him and he goes, please, right now, mister, go speak to my father. His store's down. He's at the corner store right there. A Palestinian. He says, go speak to my father. Go speak to my father. As soon as I saw him, and I shared with him that, he goes, I'm getting rid of them tomorrow. And he thanked me too. But I saw a marking. I saw something that I see in his people. And I saw it. And Abba told me that, he says, they're Hebrew. They're Hebrew. Like, wow, I didn't know. So there's a lot of Hebrew people there that belong. And there's a lot that don't belong. There's Jews that don't belong there either. And I'm sorry, you're going to get very offended. And I can't help it. But all I can do is tell you what he tells me. There's blood mixtures that have been mixed in. There's a lot of things that have been mixed in. And he's going to test their hearts. Actually, just FYI, he's been doing that to me for years. I was walking around with that staff telling people, those things are cursed. Those things are no longer. He doesn't approve of those things in the land. He's going to bring a curse upon you, on the whole land. I'm there with a stick. I'm speaking in tongues. I'm freaking people out. And so I'm very, a lot of store owners dislike me. They all know me. They all know me by the stick, actually. That's a whole nother story. I'd love to tell you about someday. But yeah, crazy stick. It has to do with 144,000 that I have to measure. So from what I understand is, God, I hope he comes. And I keep going. I would go to Israel every time. And when I'd hear there was an Eliyahu, I'd get all excited. And I'm like, oh, thank God I don't have to do this stuff. I'm just crazy then. And I would just, and then I'd talk to them or find out about them like, oh, no, that's not them. That's not him. Dang it. Well, now he's basically telling me, I'm the Mashiach spirit at the moment to come, to prepare the way, because until he fully comes. But even then, I'm still trying to understand this because a part of me feels like he's coming through 144,000 people that are going to be on the mountaintop. It's the top of his pyramid. See, I got to see a new Jerusalem coming out of heaven. And it was a hierarchy. It was a pyramid. Everybody thinks that I'm evil when I say that because of, the Illuminati stuff that you hear about. But Abba just tells me, he goes, I had him build. They built everything for you, for the children. They built it all. They built it all. Some will be accepted, some won't. He's going to rise up the bottom to judge. You wouldn't believe sometimes who the judges are. Anyway, I never know how I'm going to do it, but he doesn't. I'm just in shock, and some people correct themselves right away. I was in shock. There's holy rabbis out there, and then other people we can't see it because they're like, who are you? You're just an idiot. You don't know what I know. I'm like, but you don't know who I know. You might know about him, but I know him intimately. He cries to me at night. I got to share with you a video where he was crying. He goes, this fake Jesus guy. He goes, that's not me. He's like, my people won't receive me because they think that's who I am. And I'm not a lawless one. I am not this and I'm not that. He says, I came in my own name and I wasn't received. Another one came in another name and he's received. But he says, they won't come in. It's not me. And I know, and it's not about, the most evil thing somebody can do is turn a Jew and make them into a lawless Christian. That's like, so just so you know what I do is I usually go and find them. Every single interaction I have now is about Yah. Every single one. Every single next to me in every single airplane seat, every interaction I talk to is about him. And he brings me to many Jewish Christians, and I get them to see that nothing changed. Actually, he came to show us how to do it, not to not have to do it anymore. And so when I see this, it offends him and offends me. So I have to bring those Jews back into his Torah. I don't know all of it. I don't. I only know what he shares with me. But he tells me what to do and I do it. But I also have to share with Yehuda to see who we are and how he worked and what he did to us. I would have been lost in Greece, lost in paganism, if it wasn't for Yehoshua. If it wasn't for what he did. And see, that's what he says. Those that love me, I'll take the veil of Moshe off. And that's what he did. And those, you'll see, the ones that truly love him, don't make them deny him to come to you. Don't do that. It's almost like turning the Jew, making a Jew into a Christian. So don't do it the other way around either. Because this is a love that God's doing to bring his kingdom. Because he loves us and he wants to marry us. That's what this is all about. It's about a big marriage.